Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hollywood Live. This week's episode is really a great one. I have a wonderful guest, Mark Villareal. He is a longtime corporate leader working in the corporate world, and he's also a business coach, a consultant, and a speaker and an author now. And he's written a new book called A Script for Aspiring Women Leaders. This is a great book, and 5 Keys to Success is the subtitle. So I love when there's numbers of things that we can learn and we can basically apply them in our life. So this is your 8th book. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you.
And Mark's flown in all the way from the Smoky Mountains to Los Angeles here with me in Hollywood. So thanks for making the effort.
Well, thanks for having me. It's very exciting to be here.
My pleasure. Let's start with a basic question. Just tell me a little bit about yourself and the work you do in your company.
Well, a little bit about myself. I spent 35 years in corporate America, 21 years at the C-level, meaning reporting to the CEO, which isn't always great. Sometimes it's great. But it helped develop my passion on developing personnel, and especially in leadership, because I always believed that the more I focused on other people's success, mine came naturally. So after my corporate world, I decided to go into coaching and consulting to help businesses help develop their leaders.
And so talk about the mission and vision for you and your work.
Sure. Well, my mission statement actually is to elevate leadership development, one person, one team, or one organization at a time. To speak about how I got to that, and my vision is early in my career, happened to be a turnaround specialist. I had the gift to diagnose a struggling location, a business, put a plan together, and help turn them around. But I never did that myself. It was always through people and developing individuals, and especially developing a leadership team. And I teach today, because one of the techniques I utilize is to teach problem solving to all of your leadership team and decision making, and then empower them. And the way I teach organizations today is if you can build problem solvers all around you, your job becomes much easier.
I agree with that. Now, I understand you do some unique things in your work. Can you talk about those?
When you say unique, I always say that I make sure that we always focus on the individual. One of the big things that I teach, and it's out there today, is that humility is a strength, not a weakness. So we really teach about holding yourself accountable, self-assessments, but doing what we call leadership 360s to make sure that you hear what your peers and those reporting to you. Having accountability partners, I know that's something that you're big on, but in fact, we teach it even in this book about how important an accountability partner is and how that helps in development.
Now, before we came on air, you shared a story with me about one of your clients that I thought was fascinating. Can you share that with our viewers?
Yeah, well, it's where I tie all the worlds together on where my passion comes from. So I speak about being a turnaround specialist. So I always go back to a story where I went in and it was a business. They were part of a larger franchise, but it was an independent owner. And they were $400,000 in debt, ready to close the door, struggling, but they said, what can we do? So we quickly diagnosed the business, put a plan together, and it took rebuilding some of the leadership team and a lot of the staff. But what was unique about it is we rebuilt a lot of that business with single mothers. So we would hire a single mother, they would come on, and then they would refer more single mothers. And over time, I had 9 single mothers on staff, and they had that I cannot fail attitude. And within 2 years, that location won the award for the whole franchise of the top location out of 260 worldwide.
Wow.
And then within 3 years, that struggling location sold for just under $12 million. So my hints of what it takes to put together, but also how to pay it forward, because it takes the women development, why I have that passion to help mentor them as well into leadership.
So you get as much fulfillment out of that as you do the business being successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Equal fulfillment. Obviously, you want the business successful, but when you see people develop, all people, individuals, but especially that woman that has that cannot fail attitude, and they're able to use their unique gifts to help a leadership team, it's phenomenal.
So I'd like to just take a moment and drill down on your book a little bit, if you would.
Sure.
You got 5 keys to success. Can you share a couple of those with us?
Sure. Well, the first key, we title it, Define What You Will Live By. So I'm a big mission, vision, and values type person. I have a book out there that's research toolkit on mission, vision, and values. And so it teaches them, before you get started, define what are your personal values and your mission and principles. Values are what you live by. principles, what you stand on. Because every decision you're going to make from that has to point back to that. And so not to ever sacrifice a value as you grow or, short sight. So you have to define what you will live by first. The next is to find what you will live for. So what's going to be built on top of that? So your vision statement. What are the traits and what are the goals that I'm going to start defining so I can build a plan of attack? The third one, we called it prepare for battle. And we call it prepare for battle because especially as I've mentored women in leadership, they want to get out there, okay? They got tremendous courage. But usually when you get a setback, it's usually close to home. We're a naysayer, someone a doubter because of your commitment. So we tell them prepare for battle by defining support networks that will support them. And working with women in leadership, if I don't get the quote right, but they say behind every successful woman is other women who have her back. Because they have great support networks out there to support them that when they get that naysayer that's close to home, there's like, no, you can do it, you defined it, and they help push them through. And because they've been through that experience.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So that's 3 of the 5.
Yeah. You want to share the other 2?
Well, I mean, obviously in the 4th one, we define then now that you have the support network, how do you put your plan together? Mm-hmm. And then the 5th one is how do you ride the momentum, which means in everything that I teach in leadership, there's an evaluation process. So how do you reevaluate? How am I doing? Am I, a GPS, so to speak? Am I on my roadmap? Do I need to adjust it? How am I doing on my goals? Do I just do another Leadership 360? And even at the 3 to 5 year mark, let's reassess my mission and vision. Are they still right for where I'm at this stage? Mm-hmm. So that's the process that we teach. And if you notice on the book, it tells you on the back, we actually built a workbook that they download for free on our website.
Cool.
That allows them to go through and do the lessons, that they don't have to write through the small pages on the book.
Very good for aspiring women. I love it. Now, we're living in this really challenging time. We've got the pandemic, we have business challenges, some people going out of business, some people with their businesses, getting 30 to 40% of what they used to get. You're someone who's going in and taking a company from $400,000 in debt to $12 million, and, when they sell it later. We've got social unrest going on out there. There's a ton of stuff. What advice would you have for people living in this time, knowing what you know about leadership and anything else? What advice would you give our viewers about being successful and thriving in a challenging, uncertain time like we're in right now?
Well, I mean, we teach go in with both eyes wide open. So, and that's why I said, do set your values and your principles and don't sacrifice. It's easy in these times to take a shortcut. I say shortcuts get you lost. So if you sacrifice on ethics.
Well, I want to underline that. Shortcuts get you lost.
Yeah, it's actually the title of my first book.
Is it really?
Yes, shortcuts get you lost.
I love it. That's good.
Because, the danger of a shortcut is when you get lost, you have to backtrack to when you started. But the biggest danger of a shortcut is sometimes you'll have perceived success, and it'll teach you that bad habit of continuing to take shortcuts. So don't take the shortcuts, stay the path, but always reevaluate where you are on plan. If you don't build a plan, I say 100% you're going to have failure. But even when you build a plan, an action plan, reevaluate where you are and assess and make small changes if you have to, but be cognizant of the changes. There's a saying, a small change in DNA, you'll get a frog instead of a prince. So be cognizant of cause and effect.
I love it. I love it. I bet you got 100 of those. I wish we could get them all to come
I do.
So. That's great. That's great. Anything else you'd like to share with our viewers before I ask you how to get in touch with you? Because I know people are going to want to get your book and find out about you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've heard me talk about don't sacrifice your values. Always have the accountability partner. I'm big on pay it forward, mentor others, become a part of someone else's support network. And the final thing, I have a book called Leadership Lessons from Mom. I used to always ask my mom, what do you want me to be when I grow up? And eventually she said, mijo, which means my son in Spanish.
Yes.
I want you to be a good example in whatever you do. And if you be a good example, that when I pass away, I'll smile down from heaven. So to everyone out there, I always say, whatever you do, be a good example because others are watching.
That's beautiful. Mijo, I'm smiling at you. I love
Yes,
it.
and hopefully she is.
I'm sure she is.
Yeah.
I'm sure she is. You're doing great work. So if people want to find out, obviously your book's available, I would imagine, in most of the usual places. But if they want to contact you or find out more about your work, where do they go?
Well, my website is www.markvillareal.com. It has my LinkedIn connections, my contact information, even phone number. If it's coaching and consulting, we do the first 30 minutes for free because we want you to be comfortable before you spend. But it has, and like you said, the books are on Amazon and everywhere else that books are found.
Very good, very good. Well, I wish we had more time. You're a fascinating guy. Every once in a while I get someone who just is, you can tell they're an embodiment of what they teach, and you're obviously that person. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
My pleasure. All right, markvillareal.com. Go to his website, find out more about his work. I'm looking forward to reading this. One of the great pleasures of my life is I get all these wonderful free books to read from the people I interview. So I'm looking forward to it. So make sure you check it out. I think you'll find great value, this one especially if you're an aspiring woman leader. All right, thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you next week on Hollywood Live.